So I'm going to be probably a bit quicker in my question. So cracking straight on, what do I understand to be the main priorities of the areas moving into the constituency? I think it's worth just noting at this point that the constituency is quite large. So they are obviously very different concerns in the constituency of Windsor anyway, let alone the new areas moving in. In Langley, I know there is a particular concern around knife crime. That has been a massive issue there locally. We've had more Section 60, so that's the extended stop and search powers in Langley than in all other parts of the town. And that remains a real concern for parents, young people themselves, and actually just the community. And making sure that we get visible community policing back on the streets is a real concern there. Also in Langley, development, in particularly making sure that affordable housing is coming forward, so that housing for people who have grown up in Langley and want to remain there but currently are being priced out of the market is a really key concern. I'll move on to Englefield Green if I can, because I think that's also got very unique issues that the community there are facing. Now, firstly, obviously, there are a lot of students who live in Englefield Green and they make a great, vital contribution to the village there. But actually, sometimes their standard of accommodation is substandard and they are being exploited, frankly, by some rogue landlords. So trying to work to really up the standard of accommodation, whether that's through HMO licensing, whether that's through landlord licensing schemes, and working in partnership with Runnymede Council and bringing those forward will be really key, as well as wider issues around safety, nighttime safety for students and safety of students as well when they're in the university. And finally, greenbelt protection has been a significant concern in some parts of the village there. They have seen the kind of constant and continual encroachment onto the greenbelt, and I know that remains a concern, and it's something that I, if elected, I do pledge to stand firm on. I want to just come to the next question, which is around economic growth. Look, our main central pledge as part of this election from the Labour Party is rebuilding that economic growth and that economic stability. That really is the rock from which everything else will be built. Now, everything in our manifesto is fully costed and fully funded. There will be no tax rises beyond the measures that have already been set out in the manifesto. Now, when we talk about growth and wealth creation, what do we mean? It's easy to say that. Actually, what do we mean and how are we going to achieve it? Really, there's three things: stability, investment, and then reform. So when we say stability, we need to make sure that we don't have a repeat of what we saw under Liz Truss and that disastrous mini budget, by introducing a new fiscal lock with tough fiscal rules that make sure that no government, whatever colour it might be, can ever make those kind of mistakes again that wrecks our economy and leaves working people paying. Then when we come to investment, it really is around the National Wealth Fund. So working in partnership with businesses to really kickstart British jobs and infrastructure and help producing homegrown energy with Great British Energy. And then I come to the last one, which is around reform, because we do need to reform our current system so that we can unlock the growth that our country can provide moving forward. That's reform of the planning rules, that's shifting power out of Westminster and actually more into our towns, our cities and our regional authorities. It's about making sure that work pays so that people who are working are no longer having to work in exploitative situations. And it is really boosting British skills and British jobs. So I'll come on to the next question, which was around why should anyone trust the big three parties? I think there is only one party, and that is the Labour Party, that is going into this election on a platform of change. Now, Kier Starmer has changed the Labour Party, and as a party, we are now ready to change the country. Now, if you look at our manifesto, it is an ambitious programme that really does show our belief and our ambition for the country, and really making sure that we get that economic growth that I touched on earlier back into our economy, but importantly, doing that so that we can deliver hope, opportunity, aspiration, and ambition for our country and our young people. I'll move on to the next question, which was around student finance. Look, at the moment, the current funding of education throughout the years has been as a result of chronic mismanagement by the Conservative Party. If you look at our current funding model for higher education, at the moment, it doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't work for the taxpayer, it doesn't work for universities, and it doesn't work for students themselves. So we do need to recognise that we do need to create a secure future for funding of UK higher education sector. And our manifesto goes into detail about how we would do that in a number of ways. So firstly, I touched on skills, but actually I'll go into that a little bit further now, making sure we have that closer integration of our skills need and then the delivery partners for our educational partners who are delivering that skills training is going to be key. Also at the moment, for our universities who are involved in R&D, so research and development, all too often at the moment, their funding cycles are very short term, which means they have to spend, they don't have the stability or the consistency in knowing that they will receive that funding again, but it also means they're having to spend a significant amount of time and money in actually applying for those bids. So again, one thing we are proposing to change is scrapping the current system in favour for a 10-year budget on R&D projects for universities that will help give some of that stability and consistency back. And then final question was, if you were to vote for any of the other candidates, I'm a Labour Party member because I believe in the Labour Party. And I'm not just saying this to be flippant. I wouldn't be voting for any other candidates. I think it's important